you can make an impact wherever you are. Maybe not in Victoria, maybe you want to settle in Dallas, maybe you want to settle in Chicago, maybe you want to go overseas, but wherever you're at, he's going to show you some steps that you can take based off the steps that he's taken, and that you can be successful wherever you end up. And how these colleges and careers that we're studying right now can be stepping stones to get you where you need to go. So please help me in welcoming a local entrepreneur and businessman, a representative for the Victoria Chamber of Commerce, Mr. Bret Baldwin.
I got something I want to show you.
Delivers a new standard in breakers.
Why? Because it is the best.
That's why I was checking it out. I was standing here going, holy moly, this is nice. I couldn't believe it.
It's durable. You guys have the best warranty. I'm on the fleet program. You guys take care of my tools. It's great. Empty's great.
Actually, we're trying to get your competition and you guys not being them. And your competition's what's up.
So that's a little bit of a 2-year-old video. What does Hilti have to do with Nestle?
Transportation.
Say again?
Transportation.
Transportation. Well, kind of. Anybody else? Oh, that's a good guess, but what they have in common is 2 things. 1, I work for both of these companies, and 2, they're both Swiss companies. But they're in the United States. None of people don't know that Nestle is Swiss. So one thing I want to ask you to do is here, take a second. I want you to have a vision. What's a vision? Somebody.
Something.
Say again? Something you can see in your mind, right? I want you to envision when you're older, but before you do that, I want to take a vision back. How many of you know when the iPhone was launched? 06? Good guess? No. 07. It was launched in June of 2007. So how old were you 6 years ago? Some of you were 8, some of you were 9. I want you now, can you remember when you were 8 and 9 years old?
Oh, shooting threes.
You can pretty well remember what you were doing back then. Now think about 6 years forward. Seems like kind of a long time. But I want you to think about it. Some of you are going to be already graduated. Some of you are going to be already starting your work. Some of you will be going off to college or university. And some of you are going to be married. A lot changes in 6 years. I can tell you, some of you I saw texting when I came into school here, and I can tell you I've experienced texting back in 1999. What? Way before the United States did. Other countries around the world have technologies that they've started working with before we got them in the United States. Why is that? Because they made some choices. And that's what I want to have today, is talk about the choices that you have on not only your education, but also your career. So what I'm going to talk to you today about is about business. I want to talk to you about working, how do you apply, some things that you think about when you're applying for a job. I know most of you haven't worked for a company, you've just been doing some odd type of jobs. But this is things you need to think about, because 6 years is going to come quick. And what you do now will impact you 6 years down the road. Then I'm going to share with you some of my personal decisions that I had when I was starting at 6 years old, and how that age took me all the way to where I am today. And then I want to talk to you and finalize. We'll have a little bit of fun. I'll ask you some questions, and I've got a little contest for you. Sound good? All right, so first thing I want you to talk about is whether you're going to be going for a job or whether you're going to go in college, you're going to be asked to apply. So what are some things that you should think about when you apply for a position or for a school? The first thing I want you to think about is your initiative and your interest. How do you start building and knowing what interests you have? What are some things that you have today that I never had as a kid? Technology. Tell me about that.
It's faster and more.
Move.
Okay?
What is it?
But more important, it's more, when I say transparent, what does that mean? Sorry? It means more open. It means you can see. It's not cloudy. So businesses and organizations have more transparency today because you can look them up on the internet, you can do research, and you can find out all the things that you need to find out about those organizations. You have no excuse when you make an interview to not know about the company or the college or the position that you're going to apply for. All that information is right at your fingertips. You have such great opportunity, more than I could even imagine. And I'm going to show you some things that we put together so you can see what some of the choices are and how I looked at those choices. Next, when you apply, you're going to be distributing and talking about your qualifications and your skills. So how do you get those skills and qualifications when you haven't even worked before? Any guesses? Sorry? Let me give you an idea. When I say the word Habitat for Humanity, what comes to your mind?
Volunteer.
Build houses. What else?
Volunteer.
Volunteering. So now, if you wanted to go and work in construction, and you don't have a chance to prove to the guy that's going to hire you that you can be a good worker, how would you get that experience? Habitat for Humanity. It's a great opportunity that you can build and show that you know what you're doing. What about if you want to be a vet? What kind of experiences would you want to do? What could you get?
Adopt a pet.
Adopt a pet. Excellent. What about if you like making movies or if you like sound systems and making productions of music? What else can you do? Say again? Now what you could do is, for example, at your church or some other organization, you could work at the soundboards. You could also think about it, there's a film festival that came to Victoria now twice, International Film Festival, where you have the chance to volunteer and understand that opportunity to learn some of the skills if you wanted to make movies, if that's something you wanted to do one day. So start looking and finding the things that interest you. Look them up and find out what can you do to volunteer for those organizations. You know, if you were to do very well at those types of volunteers, or maybe if you did get offered a job and you start working, what are the things that you have to do? And that is your achievements, to show that you have the skills. But how can you get those skills and achievements in today? What are some things that you're working on today that you can have those on your resume, or more importantly, to show when you go apply for the position?
Playing comment.
Any guesses? Say again?
Stop. Are you gonna slide me?
Ag mechanics, good. So things that you're doing, projects that you're taking, you're going to be making some decisions about your classes. Most of you, I think you've already chose your classes for next year, right? Yeah. How did you choose them? A lot of thinking. Did your mom and dad say you're taking that class?
No.
No? Okay, so you did it all on your own. What else? How did you decide to choose the classes you take? Your interest. That's right. So, but what if you got a class that you're not interested in? What can you do? Get out. But what if, say, you're stuck in?
Make the best of it.
Okay, but how can you do that? In order to get the experience and the achievement. Okay.
Fucking gay,
How many of you had a project to do this year? All of you, right? So give me an example of a project that you've worked on.
College career.
Okay, college career.
I know
How
you've
about
seen me recording.
TP what?
Exactly. Nothing about it.
So how did you choose the project that you worked on?
You looked at each project and you saw what you looked through and what it was about, and then you decided which one would work best for you.
Okay. So you have a list, and you chose that. But why did you choose this one versus another one? Because of your interest, right? What I'm telling you now, what I want you to understand is you have choices, and that's what we're talking about today. Those choices sometimes that you don't have, that you have to make the best of, and then there are other ones that you have control over. And they're going to start impacting how you perform. So let's just go through now and say that you have got the job, and you have some good experiences. What would you do to say a thank you once you got that job?
Give back to the community.
Okay, you're a good reader.
You want to say anything?
What else could you do?
Swear to God,
How
I'm
would you say
sticky.
something to your employer or the person that hired you? How would you say thank you to them? Thank you card? Well, why is that important? Not just to say thank you, but
I'm
also
sorry.
to do
I'm
what?
sorry. I swear to God,
Respect.
quit touching me.
But more importantly, they also know that you understand the value that you're in their relationship has. And more importantly, you're confirming that with that employer or that school or that teacher or that person that's in leadership. So here's the responsibilities. If I was your employer, my responsibility to you is not only to hire and pay you, but train you. Your responsibility to me is to work hard, to study hard, after school especially, to train hard and to learn, because I expect you to do certain things for me. That's why I'm paying you. That's why I hired you, because you demonstrated why you had some value to me and how you're going to make my company a better company. And then I'm going to evaluate you. So let's talk a little bit about how we evaluate. Take a look at this here. And this is kind of interesting. Most of the time when you have evaluation, like a grade, all you do is you say, you do the task, whether that's a test or something that you would do at work, and then you get a grade, or you get an evaluation. One of the things I've done in different corporations that I've worked for is not only have the boss to give you an evaluation, but I've had your peers give evaluations, where you get to choose who says you did a good job or not. You can choose one person, and then I would choose one person. And then your boss would give you evaluation. So there's 3 people evaluating your performance. And that's the trend today. It's happening more. I've worked and had a chance to work with, I don't know if you can put that one back up there, several companies around the world, as Mr. Sixtos mentioned to you. One of the companies I've worked for is Hilti. Another one is Nestle. Another one is Elf, which is Tofina. You may have heard of that one. That's the 3rd largest oil company in the world. It's out of France. And I've worked now for myself, Straight Global Consulting. And they'll show you one more a little bit later. These companies are all the top 50 worldwide companies. So I've learned a lot. You got a question?
Yeah. You ever heard of Standard Oil?
Oh my God.
You ever heard?
What can you say?
Right here, how we get to know everything.
Okay, so it's a local oil company, right? One of the things I want you to think about is how you have a choice. Remember, I told you, you can get to choose who evaluates you. So that's another choice that you have. You had a choice to do your research on the company. You had a choice to apply. You had a choice to then go through the interview. You don't have to go through the interview. You had a choice to accept the position. You had a choice to then next start working hard. And you're going to see, the first thing that we look at to see how we're going to promote you or advance you is your first 6 months is on your responsibility. You have to show that you're willing to learn. The next 6 months is your responsibility also, where you have to show that you've learned something.
You retarded?
So to now take what I've taught you and show that you've learned it, and then the last point of evaluation is 1 more year, and that's where you're going to take that first year and you're going to improve upon that year in your second year. So most companies will give you 2 years to perform. If you don't take those 2 years to perform well, guess what happens? You get fired.
You get
Go
fired.
to a different position within the company, or you go on to a different company. But there's one other thing I want you to think about, and that is about how we can improve the value of the company and the community. Mr. Sixtos told you that I'm here as a representative of the Chamber of Commerce. he and I met because the Chamber of Commerce asked new teachers who in the new teacher group wants to improve Victoria's service for their restaurants, the retail, and the recreation. And they gave us input. We're taking that back now to the local businesses. But I wanted to give back something to him for taking his time. And I told him I would help him through the chamber to talk to you or whatever he felt we needed to do so that you could learn. And I thought today was important to talk to you about choices.
Got the phone.
So now let's talk a little bit about the company. I told you that you have your supervisor evaluation, but one of the things I want to talk about is undocumented observations. What do you think that means? Kind of a big word, isn't it? What does undocumented mean?
It's just like your supervisor or people around you can still come down.
Yeah, we didn't write it down. We didn't write it down. But we're observing. So how could I get some observations if you're on the job site? I'm watching you work, but I'm also watching how you work with your others. Just like you get watched in the classroom and how you interact with your fellow classmates. But one of the things that I like to do as a business guy is when I hire is look at how you're volunteering. Because your actions represent my company. If you're working for Habitat for Humanity, are you working hard? Are you giving us a good reputation within my company? I can tell you for a fact that I had one company in Korea that I had my workers, they had to go pick a volunteer organization. And they chose an orphanage. And one Saturday a month, we'd go work in an orphanage. And we'd help out. So not only did I get to see their values of my employers, but I got to see how they help people. And that really made me feel not only good about our company and helping the community, but more importantly, I got to see how they performed outside of the business. So that's why we talked about volunteerism, some of the things that you do when you volunteer. Remember, you have a choice, and next year, you're going to have some choices to take. And I want to show you now just a quick video. I want to talk about some of the educational choices that you may have.
In today's world, the need for ethical business leadership has never been more apparent.
As Thunderbird graduates, we are prepared for that challenge.
We act with honesty.
And integrity. We respect the rights and dignity
Of all people, we create sustainable prosperity worldwide.
We oppose all forms of corruption.
And exploitation.
We take responsibility
For our actions.
But our world needs more.
Join us at the #1 school for international business. Visit thunderbird.edu.
You see the different countries where they're represented? The guy that went to France. You see France in there? There was France, there was London, there was Arizona. I saw somebody said they're from Arizona, born in Arizona. The school that I went to for 18 years now in a row, it's been rated as the #1 international business school. Above London Business School, above Georgetown, above some of the other well-known universities around the country and around the world. The reason that school got there is because they made choices. They made choices where we had to learn a language. 您好，怎么样？现在好不好？好了。我是 Bret Baldwin，我说中国话。不好意思，我的中文不好，还行啊。还好，谢谢。Mein Name ist Bret Baldwin. Ich spreche Deutsch. Ich habe mein Deutsch gelernt in der Stadt Bret. Und die Stadt Bret ist in der Schweiz. Ich war 18 Jahre alt und ich habe erst studiert.
What?
German. I learned German in Switzerland.
You can't all you want. Just shut up.
Un petit peu. So here's my point. I went to this school because they said you can't graduate unless you are fluent in one language. So I had to be fluent in German, but then I learned Chinese, I learned some Korean, some Japanese, and obviously growing up in Texas I had some Spanish. Korean? 안녕하세요. Bret Baldwin입니다. It's very similar in some ways to some languages of the Orient, like Japanese or Chinese, but it doesn't. Still not the same. So anyway, I made a choice to go to Thunderbird because the fact is it was one of the best schools and they were concerned about global affairs. I want to show you one more choice that I had, and the reason why I had it is because it was an award that was given to me. And this is
Do you speak AFS? It's a connection felt by millions of...
Every once in a while, you find a place that stands out. A faculty richly steeped in heritage, yet constantly innovating to stay ahead of the changing times. An environment with academic excellence is enhanced by a vibrant cosmopolitan student life. A community with a global outlook, where students chart their own learning journeys. A place where opportunities are boundless. One of the finest law schools in the world. This is NUS Faculty of Law, Asia's global law school. If you spend some time on campus at the NUS Faculty of Law, you will soon appreciate why the school is internationally regarded as one of the most innovative law schools in the world.
The energetic learning environment that infuses the faculty is evident from the passionate debates that take place beyond the classroom to the myriad activities conducted by its vibrant student population.
At NUS, students have a multitude of choices to design a course of study that is aligned to their interests and career aspirations.
In addition to the basic substantive subjects that we offer.
So, at Singapore, a Victoria boy goes to law school in Singapore. Believe me, when I was your age, I would have never thought that that was possible. Much less even to go out of Texas. But I made a choice, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit later about some personal choices I made. And that's what led me to that. One of you in here, for sure, is going to go study somewhere abroad one day. Because just statistically, the numbers are there. It may be just Mexico, but it may be in Africa, or it may be in Europe or Asia, Australia. You have the opportunity, better than what most people have around the world. So I'm asking you to think about your choices that you made. I made that choice because the Singapore government offered business people from the United States to be able to go to their law school, and I took them up on it. It was one of the best experiences I ever had. I told you earlier I saw texting in 1999. I saw people using technologies that we have just now today. You know the company Samsung? Most of you heard that?
Yes.
Samsung was really not much on the world market. Today, they're one of the leading technology leaders around the world. Why? Because they, like you, made choices to go to school, not only during the day, but they start going to school afterwards. So if you finish school today around 3:30 or 4, you go home for an hour, then you would go to another school if you were living in Korea for another 3 to 7 hours. They don't get home till 1 o'clock at night sometimes, and then they get up and go to school the next morning. Because they know that they're a small country, that they have to compete against you, America. And we're a large country. So they have to work extra hard. And that's the choices that they made. Now I want to talk about some of the organizations that can help you to decide what kind of things you're going to do when you become ready to go to work.
People around the world. Growing up in the suburbs of Rochester, New York, with snow, school, more snow, cheerleading, and the typical American teenage life was great. But it wasn't enough for me. I wanted to take on the world, make a difference, see and do amazing things. Sound familiar? And a cultural exchange in Cordoba, Argentina with AFS was just what I was looking for. An experience to give my life direction. While in Argentina, I gained a fresh perspective, opening my eyes to a new culture, people and language. Aprendí a hablar español con fluidez. My eyes to a new culture, people and language. Aprendí a hablar español con fluidez.
That's great.
So, I'm sorry it didn't work, but what she's basically showing is her fluency in Spanish. She was from Rochester, New York. A city that's not much bigger than Victoria. But she chose that she wanted to go see the world because she recognized where she was from was a very small place. There's a lot happening. You know, I have to tell you that going and being a part of the AFS, I know that I don't know if AFS is still here, but that's what I was. I was an AFS student, and I went to Switzerland. Think about it. What did I start with the presentation with? Hilti and Nestle. Where are they from? Switzerland. I didn't know that my year being an exchange student in Switzerland would help me learn not only about Swiss culture and language, but ended up leading me to work with 2 Swiss companies. And by the way, they're both #1 in their industry. Great companies, wonderful opportunity. So, going back to the organization, that was an organization that I got to be involved in high school, in Victoria High. We didn't have an East and West when I was in school, but at Victoria High, we had an organization called AFS. And we had host people come into our home, students from Egypt, from Finland, from Canada, from all over the world, and that began my process of understanding the opportunities that I had because of the choices that I made. Now, before I close, I want to just ask you a couple of questions and see if you're paying attention. I'm going to go up here in a second to those videos and hope that they can be loaded up as well. But let me ask you, after you demonstrate your interest and you show your qualifications and your skills, what did I say you need to do with the company after an interview? You need to what?
Thank you.
They thank you, good. So why was that important? So here's your choice. One was to be polite, prove yourself. One was to be respectful. And the other one was to polite and reconfirm. Which one is it? The last one? You got it. It's the last one. So you're in the game, all right? You're in the game for a contest. Now I'm going to come full circle. We talked about starting with your community, the things that you do. What were some of the things that I said to be able to do that in your community? One was undocumented observation. Was it volunteering? Or was it being a supervisor?
Volunteering.
Volunteering. Okay. So you start volunteering at local organizations. You can use those organizations to help you with your projects. How about when you have a choice to prepare for your career? What do? Do you get involved in that organization? Do you do networking? Or do you move to a new community?
Get involved.
Involved. Through those organizations, just like I explained to you about AFS. Okay. I'm going to show you now, I'm giving you kind of some things to do. I'm going to show you some videos, and let's see if you can find out what's the common theme through all of these videos that helped me to make the choices that I made to work for these companies and to do some things I did around the world. This one may not have a sound, so I apologize.
Shut up.
So what you're seeing here is kids basically around the world. This used to be a TV show that I watched when I was 5 and 6 years old. And they always showed videos of kids around the world. It started me to think about, what do I like about around the world? Then as I got to be a middle school student, in the mid-70s, this show became popular.
take the pebble from my hand, it will be time for you to leave. Time for you to leave.
Okay, I didn't tattoo my arm or brand myself like that. But what I did want you to see is that it had an impact on me as watching, because I ended up living in China. Okay, next one. I want you to see if you can find me in this video.
You're in it.
Sorry, you don't get to see me. I was teaching and training all the people there. And again, I didn't ever have any tool background in my life. But I made some choices and I got to be successful in doing because I made those certain choices of getting involved and being involved with organizations. This is the last company that I work with right now.
You create opportunity. You do more than just open a door. You can turn a dream into reality. An open door is an invitation to see what's possible, take on challenges, and feel the rewards of hard work. Because when you open a door to opportunity, you open a door to your potential. That's why Northwestern Mutual salutes the ideals of Title IX and why we're a proud corporate partner of the NCAA.
So who am I? So who am I? I'm from Victoria, Texas. I was born in San Marcos. Moved here in '67 when I was 4 years old. Grew up here and went to Victoria High School. But now, who am I? What did you see as a common theme that I showed you up there?
Travel.
Travel, okay, but what's involved with travel? People. The theme that I want you to learn and hear is international. When I was 6 years old, I started learning about international things. I began to think about what I could do in international. I never believed that I would live in China. Just like I can tell you, some of you are going to live in a foreign country and you don't realize it now. I remember I started off the presentation, I said, hey, have a vision. Because you could visualize back 6 years, but you can't visualize forward 6 years. But what about 16 years? Where are you going to be? What are the decisions you're going to make in your classes, for your projects, the companies you're going to work for, how you're going to make an impact in the communities that you live and work at. It's amazing to see how your choices will lead you to a career like you've never believed before. So, go ahead, come up here. I got a test for you. What's your name? Juan. Okay, Juan, what is this and this have in common?
That's a phone and a drill.
It's a phone and a drill. What's it common with?
Bookwork.
Okay. Okay, I want you to see if you can repeat this. All right, watch me. This is the button. Turns it on. I told you I work with this company. We helped design this. If you drill and it gets stuck, guess what happens? It bends and it can break your wrist. So what we did was we designed it so when it detects being stuck, it automatically shuts off. So watch. Still pushing. It turned off. I simulated if it gets stuck, so if it gets stuck, that this is going to turn and not the bit. So you can do it. Good job. All right. So Juan, what does that have to do with the cell phone?
That good. Hope that was that.
Okay. How many of you have an iPhone or a smartphone? Okay. What happens when you do this to them?
The screen turns.
Ah, screen turns. So that same technology is inside that. It's inside here. It's called a motion detector. When you turn it, it turns it knows. And that's the technology that I had an involvement with. Because we had to sell and market these tools with that technology. Juan? There you go. What's my message I want you to take away today? I want you to take away that you have choices. They're going to impact your life. You made choices already that you don't even know that they're going to impact you. As I told you, when you're 6 years old or maybe 7 or 8. And in those choices, they now made, for a fact, who do you hang around with? What kind of friends? What kind of school classes do you take? What kind of projects do you work on? All those choices that you make a decision about are going to impact the rest of your life. I've got a little bit of time for a question or two, but I've been really appreciating your time, and I hope that you can remember and hope that this helps you out. Any questions? Yes? That's a bad boy, isn't it?
I used to also practice school. They handle like here, looking like that.
This is about a $1,200 tool. It has a lot of features in there, but that's just one of them that I showed you. What other questions do you have about choices or your careers or college? I can answer. Well, she asked, how long does it take to get where you're at? It's a never-ending journey. But it took me probably about, from the time I started deciding what I wanted to do, which was where you're at in high school, it's about 6 years. And that's why I did the 6 years. Because I knew I wanted to do international business. I knew that I had to find those places that would help me to get the training and the education so that I could do international. I came back to Victoria because I made a choice. I wanted to be closer to my kids' grandparents or my parents. I wanted them to be close. I've had my career, had a wonderful life so far, but now it's their turn. And Victoria's a great place. Yes? What kind of car do I drive?
Do you drive Bugatti?
I will tell you, I had very nice cars earlier, but now I use more practical things. I don't have a Bugatti. I have a Honda Civic Hybrid. Why? Because it gets good gas mileage. And I have a van. I used to have an Infinity. I was one of the first Infinity buyers.
Now,
But now I don't choose that because I have other things I think are more important to me. Family. Anybody else? Other questions?
No, this one is going to pay for me.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.